Writing. Picture yourself standing on an airfield in the early 1940s as the world is engulfed in the largest conflict humanity has ever known. Across the horizon, the sound of powerful radial engines begins to grow louder. Soon, a massive aircraft emerges from the sky, its distinctive twin-tail fins cutting through the clouds. It is not the famous B-17 Flying Fortress that often dominates Hollywood films and wartime stories. Instead, it is the consolidated B-24 Liberator, an aircraft that would become one of the most important weapons in the Allied arsenal and one of the most produced military airplanes in history. The story of the B-24 Liberator begins before America officially entered World War II. In 1938, the United States Army Air Corps sought a bomber that could outperform existing aircraft in speed, range, and payload capacity. Consolidated Aircraft Company accepted the challenge and designed a revolutionary bomber that looked unlike anything flying at the time. The most distinctive feature was its high-mounted Davis wing, a long and efficient wing design that gave the aircraft exceptional range and fuel efficiency. Engineers understood that future wars would require bombers capable of traveling vast distances, and the B-24 was built with that vision in mind. When the prototype first flew in December 1939, it immediately demonstrated impressive capabilities. It was faster than many contemporary bombers, could carry a heavy payload, and had a range that exceeded expectations. Military leaders quickly recognized its potential, and production orders began to grow. What started as an experimental design soon evolved into one of the most important aircraft of World War II. As production accelerated, factories across the United States worked around the clock. The scale of manufacturing was extraordinary. Thousands of workers, many of whom had never built an airplane before, joined the effort. Men and women assembled engines, wings, fuselages, and weapon systems at an unprecedented pace. The massive Willow Run plant in Michigan became legendary for its production output. At its peak, an entire B-24 could roll off the assembly line every hour. This remarkable achievement symbolized America's industrial power and its ability to support a global war effort. The B-24 was a large aircraft. Measuring over 67 feet in length with a wingspan of approximately 110 feet, it commanded attention wherever it appeared. Powered by 4 Pratt & Whitney R1830 twin Wasp radial engines, the bomber could reach speeds approaching 290 miles per hour. Its long range allowed it to strike targets that were beyond the reach of many other aircraft. This capability would prove essential as Allied forces expanded operations across multiple continents. Inside the aircraft, conditions were far from comfortable. Crews often consisted of 10 men, including pilots, navigators, bombardiers, radio operators, engineers, and gunners. During missions, temperatures at high altitude could plunge well below freezing. Crew members wore heavy flight suits, gloves, and oxygen masks while enduring hours of engine noise and constant vibration. Despite these hardships, they performed some of the most dangerous missions of the war. The cockpit of the B-24 was positioned high above the ground, offering pilots excellent visibility. Flying such a large bomber required skill and concentration. Unlike smaller aircraft, every maneuver had to be carefully planned. Pilots managed engine performance, monitored fuel consumption, coordinated with crew members, and maintained formation with dozens or even hundreds of other bombers. One of the Liberator's greatest strengths was its impressive payload capacity. It could carry thousands of pounds of bombs deep into enemy territory. Factories, rail yards, oil refineries, submarine pens, bridges, and military installations all became targets for B-24 formations. Strategic bombing campaigns sought to weaken enemy industry and disrupt supply networks, reducing the ability of Axis powers to sustain military operations. The aircraft's defensive armament was equally significant. Multiple .50 caliber machine guns were positioned throughout the bomber. Turrets protected the nose, top, belly, waist, and tail sections. Enemy fighters approaching from nearly any direction faced intense defensive fire. Gunners remained constantly alert during missions, scanning the skies for threats while enduring freezing temperatures and combat stress. Although heavily armed, the B-24 was not invincible. German and Japanese fighter pilots quickly learned to exploit weaknesses whenever possible. Combat missions often involved fierce aerial battles. Enemy aircraft attacked bomber formations from multiple angles, seeking to break through defensive fire and inflict damage. Crew members knew that every mission carried significant risks. Perhaps nowhere was the Liberator's value more apparent than in the Battle of the Atlantic. German U-boats posed a serious threat to Allied shipping, sinking cargo vessels and disrupting critical supply lines. The B-24's long range allowed it to patrol vast stretches of ocean previously beyond Allied air coverage. Equipped with radar and depth charges, Liberators hunted submarines with remarkable effectiveness. Their presence dramatically reduced the safe operating areas available to German U-boat commanders. Many historians credit long-range patrol aircraft like the B-24 with helping turn the tide in the Atlantic. Convoys transporting troops, food, fuel, and equipment became better protected. As submarine losses increased, Germany's ability to disrupt Allied logistics declined significantly. The Liberator played a vital role in securing the maritime lifeline that connected North America and Europe. The aircraft also became famous for its service in the European theater. Operating from bases in England and later Italy, B-24 crews participated in strategic bombing campaigns against Nazi Germany. Massive formations crossed the English Channel and penetrated deep into enemy territory. These missions required exceptional courage. Anti-aircraft artillery filled the skies with deadly explosions while enemy fighters launched aggressive attacks. One of the most famous B-24 operations occurred on August 1, 1943. Known as Operation Tidal Wave, the mission targeted oil refineries in Ploiesti, Romania. These facilities supplied a significant portion of Germany's fuel needs. More than 170 Liberators launched on the daring low-level attack. Flying at extremely low altitude exposed crews to intense anti-aircraft fire and unexpected obstacles. The mission achieved damage to refinery infrastructure but came at a tremendous cost. Dozens of aircraft were lost, and many airmen were killed or captured. Despite the losses, the operation demonstrated the determination and bravery of Liberator crews. In the Pacific theater, the B-24 proved equally valuable. The vast distances between islands demanded aircraft with exceptional range, and the Liberator was ideally suited for the challenge. From bases across Australia, New Guinea, and Pacific Islands, B-24s attacked Japanese shipping, airfields, and military installations. Their ability to cover enormous distances allowed Allied commanders to project power across the ocean. Pacific missions often involved flights lasting 10 or more hours. Crews navigated over endless stretches of water where emergency landings were rarely possible. Mechanical reliability became critical. Every engine, fuel line, and instrument had to function properly because a single failure could place the entire crew at risk. Despite these challenges, Liberators helped isolate Japanese forces and weaken enemy logistics throughout the Pacific campaign. The B-24 also served in North Africa and the Mediterranean. Operating from desert airfields, crews attacked ports, supply depots, and transportation networks supporting Axis forces. The harsh environment created additional challenges. Sand, heat, and maintenance difficulties tested both aircraft and personnel. Yet the Liberator continued to deliver results, contributing to Allied victories across the region. One aspect often overlooked is the psychological impact of heavy bombers. For civilians and soldiers on the ground, the sight of large formations overhead was unforgettable. The rumble of hundreds of engines signaled the arrival of immense destructive power. For Allied forces, bomber formations represented strength and determination. For enemy defenders, they served as a constant reminder that industrial centers and military infrastructure remained vulnerable. The B-24's design generated mixed opinions among crews. Some appreciated its speed, range, and payload capacity. Others criticized aspects of its handling characteristics. Compared to the B-17, the Liberator was often considered less forgiving when damaged. Its high wing loading and structural design could make emergency situations more difficult. Nevertheless, experienced crews respected the aircraft's capabilities and understood the critical role it played. Maintenance personnel formed another essential part of the Liberator story. Ground crews worked tirelessly to keep aircraft operational. Engines required constant attention. Hydraulic systems, electrical components, weapons, and navigation equipment all needed regular inspection and repair. Often working in difficult conditions, mechanics ensured bombers were ready for the next mission. Their efforts directly influenced combat effectiveness and crew survival. As the war progressed, numerous variants of the B-24 emerged. Engineers continuously improved performance, defensive armament, and mission flexibility. Some versions specialized in anti-submarine warfare, while others focused on reconnaissance, transport,